Paranormal in Pennsylvania may discuss topics such as suicide, murder, and other potentially upsetting things. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to Paranormal in Pennsylvania,
where we discuss history and haunts.
Today's story takes us over to Eastern PA. I'm Sarah.
I'm David.
Let's get into it.
We in it.
So today we're going to be talking about Thornbury Farms. And we initially went there thinking there was a Christmas market there, and there was not. It was closed.
Why do the berries have thorns?
We'll get into it. All right, so when we went here, we were really hoping to spend a lot of time here, go to the shop, it's a farmer's market, etc. However, it was not open. But it wasn't, because it's a farm, it's not like barricaded off, so we were still able to walk around a substantial amount. So to get into the history of this site, because it wasn't always a farmer's market, this was the site of the Battle of Brandywine, was part of the Battle of Brandywine. We covered Brandywine battlefield in another episode if you're interested in hearing more about it. And the Battle of Brandywine also appears in our Westchester episode because it spanned so many square miles. But this was just one portion of the battle. The stone farmhouse here was built in 1709, and there are also many other buildings on the property, including a log cabin that dates back to the 1600s. The farm was the final engagement of the larger Battle of Brandywine, and it is said that so many died that blood ran as a river for 2 miles until it combined with the Brandywine River.
Is that what gave Brandywine River its name? Because of the color of wine, red? No?
Wine.
Maybe?
That's funny. You'll find, if there's a dad joke, you'll find it. In addition to being close to the battle, the barn and spring house were actually used to hold prisoners, and the main house served as a temporary field hospital. So the property was very involved in the battle and the aftermath. And at the temporary field hospital in the main house, limbs were simply amputated and thrown out the window. So imagine you're working, doing surgery on the second floor, and you ask the doctor, like, and doc, what are we doing with this limb? And they go, throw it out the window.
An early form of composting.
Yeah. Oops.
A little macabre.
Yeah. In that note, there are also 2 mass burial sites on the grounds, because there are so many people dead, hence the river of blood. And later, the house was also used as a stopping point for the Underground Railroad, which is very interesting. That's it for the history. We've already covered the Brandywine battle in depth, so listen to the other episode if you want more history on that, but moving into the ghost story. So there are reports of the ghosts of soldiers that died here being both seen and heard, and people also report hearing phantom horses here. It is across the street from a farm, but I think it was just goats.
Well, there was a pig too.
Yeah, you can feed them.
Yeah, you can. It was really cute. There was another woman there who was feeding them, and I was like,
cute.
I was really confused because I thought that was like somebody that was working the farm, or like a daughter or somebody that was visiting, but it was actually just somebody stopping to feed the animals.
Yeah, there's a sign on the fence that says like you can feed them these types of food, but I didn't notice horses.
No, but there is a lot of farmland.
Yeah, so
like over by this area.
That's neither here nor there. What's most interesting about this property is it has a lot of distinct ghosts. So other than the general hauntings of the soldiers and the horses, there's quite a few distinct ghosts. So we're going to go through them. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right.
Let's do it.
First is the ghost of a little girl who can be heard crying in one of the rooms of the house. Some say that there's a newly constructed wall in one of the rooms and that she's looking for her doll in her playroom that was on the other side of the constructed wall. So she's crying because she can't get through.
Oh, that's interesting. But when I hear of like ghosts like this on a battlefield, like a non-combatant, how did she die? Why is she there?
Well, it was a farmhouse. She might have lived there.
Yeah, true.
Either way, her name is Katie, and she can be also seen in the spring house, and some visitors claim to have captured her in photographs, specifically of the second floor windows. So people say that they have photographs where if you look at the second floor, in the windows, you'll see a little girl.
Is it more of like a shadow figure, did it say? Because my follow-up question here is, what kind of clothing was she wearing?
I don't know that you can really see her clothing because remember, it's a little girl. So I think it cut her off like here.
Oh, so like very, very young.
Yeah.
Okay.
For those listening, I'm at like the shoulder height. Yeah, I think she's like 4 or something. I have no clue why I picked that number. I have nothing to at all prove that she was 4, but in my heart, she's 4. Facts. There are also reports of the original owner on the property haunting the grounds, and local legend says that he took his own life by hanging himself over a well. There's some discrepancy over if it's a well in like the spring house or if it's in the main house, because there's a well in the basement of the main house.
Oh, that's a way to do it. Jeez. I mean, wait, but you'd have a well in your basement?
I do think that that's a little strange, but it did say that there's a well in the basement.
I mean, we weren't there to confirm or deny that it has.
Yeah.
That there is a well in the basement of that house.
And even if you go to it when it's open as a market, I don't think you get to go into the farmhouse. I think you just get to go into the barn.
Gotcha. But if you hang yourself in a well, somebody will find you.
Above a well.
Oh, okay. I thought like using the rope that would have like drawn the bucket up, he hung himself on that, so he's in the well, in my mind.
I don't know. You're like the logistics.
The logistics of this means that somebody finds you.
So, his ghost. The reason that people think that it's the well in the basement versus the spring house is because he can be seen haunting the basement in the form of a full body apparition to some and a shadow figure to others.
It's always interesting, like when some people see the ghost as I mean this from like not like a naysayer or anything. It's very interesting that some people will see like a ghost in a full body apparition versus like a shadow figure, and what dictates that. Mm-hmm. Is it the ghost or is it the person?
I think there's a few theories on it. One of the theories is that the spirits are expending energy to show themselves as an apparition versus a shadow figure, so they can only do it every now and then. The other thing is it could be people with connection or based on intention. Another theory is it could be based on your own connection with the paranormal. I mean, obviously, people like mediums are going to see spirits likely more as full entities than shadow figures. And some people actually think that it's not the owner that appears as the shadow figure, but perhaps a different spirit that's there.
That could also then make sense, even more sense as to why some see a full apparition versus shadow.
Yeah. There is another spirit linked to the well. There is a man who fell down the well and then froze to death.
Oh, that sucks.
So it didn't say which well, but he could be the shadow figure, I was thinking.
That could be it too, yeah.
So that's 3. We're at 3 of the spirits there, moving on to 4. Visitors report seeing a young child soldier, and he seems to have abandoned his post and can be seen looking back over the battlefield. And he's often seen hiding amongst a cluster of rocks. So it looks like he advanced to that point, is hiding, and then is looking backwards towards the battlefield, as if debating which way to go.
Interesting. So I guess also like it'd be a full body apparition. Mm-hmm. Is it that it looks like a child, or is like the height of a child? My thoughts are people's average heights back at this point were not as tall as we know today.
Mm-hmm. My understanding is it looks like a child, but I have child in quotation marks because there's no images for me to look at myself.
Right. I mean, so rarely are there.
Mm-hmm. Hello, listeners. It's Sarah, and today I'm here to tell you about one of my favorite new podcasts, the Electric Boogaloo Podcast. This is a podcast that reviews movies, but not just any movies. It only reviews sequels. It's hosted by childhood best friends Brad and Scott, who have an incredibly funny dynamic and provide a lot of insight on these sequels in each of their episodes. My favorite episode of theirs is I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. In addition to their normal episodes, they have Baby Boogaloo episodes, which they post every month with themes like top 5 lists, favorite lists, and so much more. This is a great podcast for any movie lover out there. They release episodes every single Thursday, the same day as us, so you can listen back to back. this Thursday, listen to our episode, and then right away, go check out the Electric Boogaloo podcast. Moving on to Ghost 5, Spirit 5. It's the spirit of an old man who seems to be upset, and he can be found in the spring house. And there is also the spirit of a prankster in the spring house.
Nice.
And they might be one and the same depending on the different accounts of it. During an investigation, one man had his flashlight knocked off his jacket while in the spring house. He placed it on a table that they had set up to have other materials on, and a few minutes later it was knocked off the table, and he went to pick it up and figured he would just hold it, and he said that it felt so cold, like it had been in a freezer, that he didn't believe it, so he had his team members touch it, and they all confirmed that it felt like it had been sitting in a freezer and was cold.
Oh, that would have been a really good opportunity if you had like a thermometer or something to measure temps to like immediately point it to the flashlight.
Yeah.
But don't know if they had not a flashlight, a thermometer, or if, of course it's always hindsight.
Right. And I will say, I don't know who of this that like listens to the podcast, or if you or Erica have seen, but Lock and Key, have you guys seen that show? It's on Netflix. No. Okay. They have, for those who haven't seen it, they have a well house on the property where ghosts get trapped in the well house. And this is I could not stop thinking of it. It is giving me Lock and Key vibes so much, because in the series, the ghosts are trapped there. And here we see multiple spirits associated with the spring house, which is very similar. And every time I picture it, I know that it's not the same, because the Lock and Key house is like this beautiful mansion and this is a farmhouse. But
how do you keep ghosts under lock and key? I don't get it.
Watch the series.
Yeah.
Not sponsored. Could be. Anyways, there is an unidentified presence in the master bedroom. That's all it said about that. Just an unidentified presence. And then finally, of the distinct spirits that we have, there's a spirit of a soldier that blocks visitors in the staircase. And this is to the point that people actually feel resistance when trying to go up the staircase, as if someone is standing in their way.
Oh, interesting. I wonder if it's a soldier stopping people from seeing how nasty what was happening upstairs was.
That's a good point.
So like they often, or correct me if I'm wrong, but surgeries were often held on upper floors, not on the first floors. So that would make sense, at least in my mind, that the soldier would be blocking you to stop you from seeing the gruesome surgeries that are happening.
That, I didn't even think of that. I figured it was some sort of guard, but I didn't even think about the second floor being surgeries. I thought maybe it was protecting the people in the house or something. Like maybe it was like the sun at the house or whatever, standing in the way.
Protecting you from seeing all the body parts being tossed out the window. And to your left, you will see the pile of body parts.
Right. Yeah. That's a good thought, though. So that's the distinct ghosts, but there are still more. So people driving by, and this is on a pretty major road, people driving by report that their radio station is changed to a classical channel. Do you remember if we were listening to music?
We were not, to my knowledge.
Okay. Were you sitting in the second row or the third row?
I was front seat.
Oh, then you would definitely know. I was sitting in the way back of the car, so I was like, I have no clue if we were listening to music. I probably wouldn't be able to hear it anyways. So we weren't. Okay. I was going to say, if we were listening to it, we were probably listening to Christmas music, but I didn't notice anything.
Oh, now that you say that, though, maybe we were listening to Christmas music.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's such a small detail in this adventure that I failed to recall.
Either way, we would have noticed, I think, if the channel abruptly changed.
I think so as well.
So we didn't experience that, but I do think that that's a super cool haunting, that the spirits that are there are like, nope, classical music. And it does remind me of, we've had radio manipulation other places as well. Another part of the hauntings is Randall Spackman, who is someone that works with the farm, has been interviewed about the paranormal activity there. And he said that the lights will often turn on and off, and doors will open and close on their own. He said that the spirits there are all very kind, and if you ask them nicely to stop, they will. He deemed them intelligent haunts that will regularly communicate with the people that they know on the property.
Interesting. Again, I'm always so fascinated with this. Like, so these were ghosts that lived not far before electricity, and they can interact with light switches, and like anybody can open up doors, but interact with technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always a little skeptical about doors, especially in old homes. But it's always so interesting to me that they can react with technology.
Yeah. You're saying because the door could just open on its own.
Yeah, I mean, like old homes, either it be warping of the frame or something to allow the door to swing open, a draft, take your pick. There's a lot of things. So doors opening on their own is often something I kind of like, that could be anything.
Yeah, I do think that you're right with that. The lights, also, if it's an old home, they could flicker on and off,
Bad electrical.
Yeah, it could be faulty electrical, but I think it's interesting that he said that they're intelligent haunts that will regularly communicate.
This is Spooky Kitty.
This is not the Spooky Kitty.
This is one of our spooky kitties.
For those listening, not watching, our gray cat just jumped up onto the podcasting table and is now leaving. Anyways, I think it's interesting that they'll communicate specifically with people that they know on the property. We also had this at the aviary with the radios there. The ghosts would turn the radio on and off in the kitchen, specifically when one staff member walked in. So I think that it's really interesting that we see that again here, that the familiarity lends itself to healthy communication.
Do we think that also, like, in the case of the aviary, we're talking about maybe, like, is that a ghost trying to actively communicate, or no, it wouldn't be Morse code because electricity wasn't around at that point. So I wonder,
it's not
like,
Morse code. They're turning the radio on and off. It's not flickering on and off. It's like staying on.
Apologies, I jumped thoughts from the aviary back to this as like flicking the lights on and off. I was like, oh, could that be Morse code? But Morse code didn't exist at this point.
I feel like we do too many escape rooms. And that's bleeding into this. David's like, the light's flicking. What does it mean?
Quick, start writing it down.
Write it down. Yeah. So that is all about the very many haunts of Thornbury Farms. Tons of resident spirits there. Would you like to go back?
Yeah, I would. It looks pretty fun. I mean, like, so aside from the hauntings, it does look like a lot of fun. If there was like a ghost hunting opportunity, would take that too. But I would love to like explore the property more. But just like their setup too, looked like they had like cozy fire pit, and it looked like there was quite a bit to do. A lot of fun.
Yeah, and I know that they have good produce because my parents were in the CSA. Is that where you like get stuff from local farmers? They used to get their produce there. So we know their produce is good. They have a farmer's market regularly. I would really love to do a paranormal investigation here, especially with someone that works there. I think when there's established resident ghosts that you can easily communicate with, you know their name, you know their backstory, it's really easy to help get more information about them. And I'm actually kind of surprised that they're all still there haunting it, that they haven't passed on.
Yeah, so when we talked about those type of ghosts, or like hauntings, there's so many different types of hauntings. Oh, what is it called? Where people feed the energy, and so residual. I don't know if that's the case here. It doesn't sound like it. But then there's also the type of haunting where something just so traumatic or so big happened that the energy is just there still.
Oh, I don't know.
It like left like almost like a permanent impression on the land. So it could be that, or a soldier I could understand being behind it, just locked in that battle, sure.
Yeah, I think because it's such distinct spirits that you can communicate with, I think they're actually there.
Yeah,
I don't think it's residual. It definitely was the site of terrible activities, which might make it more paranormal. Especially some people say that wells can be portals to other dimensions, etc., to the other side. And it has 2 of them. But I think that it would be really, really interesting to do a paranormal investigation here.
Yeah, it would be very interesting. But I'm still thinking, like, what would be the reasons for some of those ghosts? Like, why is the little girl... Actually, the little girl, in my mind, is kind of sad that she needs to find her doll or something to move on. And she can't find her doll, and now she's just stuck here. So,
I know. I feel like if we went, I would want to bring a doll and be like, here you go. So those are the many hauntings and spirits of Thornbury Farms, located in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Tune in next Thursday to see what history and hauntings we discuss next. Stay
Spooky!
spooky.